is the Lexus LC500H. The price of admission for the Lexus LC500 models is $92,000 with the base V8 model. The one that I'm sitting in right now is the multi-stage hybrid version, and it clocks in at $96,500. This one, as equipped, clocks in at $101,560. This is a six-figure car, and this is also a unique price point where no Mercedes, BMWs, or Audi coupes exist. So this is too expensive to be compared to the M3s and M4s and also the Audi S5s. At the same time, this car is too cheap and too underpowered to be compared to the likes of the AMG GTR or the Audi R8s. This price point is also unique because Lexus is exposing their buyers to models like the Jaguar F-Type R, the Lotus Evora 400, and also, of course, the Porsche 911s. So how does Lexus stand apart from this really vicious crowd? By making the LC500 one of the best GT cars available today. Before I get into the differences between the V8 and the hybrid version, let's just boil down what you actually get in the LC500. What you get is a gorgeous car. You remember the LFA, that Lexus supercar that's like about $400,000 and only 500 of them were ever made? Well, this is like the mini version of that. In fact, you remember the Toyota Supra? This is like the modern day Toyota Supra. It's got the Toyota Supra looks. It's got the super long hood. It's got the really aggressive rear haunches, and it's got those brake ducts on the side. So everyone hoping that the Toyota Supra looks like the FD1 concept that they saw a couple of years ago, they should stop looking, because the new Toyota Supra is here, and it's called the Lexus LC500, and it's $100,000. That gorgeous exterior is matched by the beautifully modern interior. Climbing in here, you understand why this car costs six figures. And it's all about the attention to detail. It's all about material selection, design, and ergonomics. For instance, take the placement of this shifter. Regardless of how rarely you'll use it, it's perfect. The way your elbows and hands just fall on your side, it just rests naturally on the shifter. Slide your hands to the right and you'll find a series of dials that looks like they're made of metal. There's a certain heft to the turning and clicking of these buttons. Same thing, look at the HVAC buttons on the dash. From a distance, these buttons look like they're a part of some metallic grill. Now, this touchpad is a bit hit or miss. It's responsive enough, and I like how the cursor jumps to whatever icon you're trying to select, but the placement of some common menu items and also the icons on the screen, especially the ones found in the navigation, are really confusing. The display on the infotainment, however, I have to give high praise, because the screen you'll find on the LC500 is much higher quality and pixel density, unlike the ones found in lesser Lexus, and also found in other cars. And I'm really glad that the iPad-like growth that's found in other cars is nowhere to be found here. Instead, you get a seamlessly integrated pane of glass that runs across the dash, concealing the infotainment screen. And both of these cars have different driving modes, and each one changes the tack from mild to wild. You go from comfort mode to Sport S, and then all the way at the top is a Sport S Plus. I love how the dials just explode in color, and the bands are much thicker, and when you're driving, it becomes a lot more noticeable, so that you could really focus on the road and just have a quick glance and understand where you are on the engine rev. The steering wheel is one of the best steering wheels I have ever held. The way the wheel is contoured at the 9 and 3 positions, your hands just naturally feel comfortable holding it. The way the leathers, the stitching, and the perforation feels on your hands. And what's more important about the steering wheel is that it houses this very special button. No, it's not a special button where you can eject the passenger or fire missiles from the headlights, despite what the exterior of the car tells you. This button physically moves the tachometer to the side, so it reveals more screen on the left-hand side. It reveals more space for information like your music, different drive settings, the compass. I mean, it's completely pointless, but I friggin' love it. There is one major flaw in this car, and I have to do this because I've complained about this feature in other cars before. It's the lack of physical heated seats and steering wheel buttons. If I want to change the temperature levels, I have to dig through an X number of menus, hitting the touchpad X number of times before I can even change the heat settings. This is just pure first world madness. Now when it comes to the seats, the blend of Alcantara and leathers just provide the right amount of friction so you can hold on. The seat's shape and design, it mimics the style that resonates throughout the exterior, futuristic and alien. Lexus created this car to be a proper grand tourer, and having great seats is a critical requirement, and Lexus did that in spades. As far as the rear seats goes, they look nice, but anyone who dares sit in the back won't be admiring the supple leather or the rest of the interior design. They've got bigger things to worry about, like how they're going to continue living without any feeling in their legs or having a permanent crick in their neck. I've driven this car with 3 other people inside, and it is one of the worst experiences ever, even for the driver. Absolutely no one is comfortable. Now that we've talked enough about the interior and what you get in the LC500, let's talk about the differences between the V8 model and the hybrid version. The V8 model, again, starts at $92,000. That is the cheapest LC500, if you could believe it. It goes 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds thanks to its 5-liter V8 that produces 471 horsepower. The multi-stage hybrid goes from 0 to 60 in 4.7 seconds, 0.3 seconds later. And that's thanks to the 3.5-liter V6 and the electric motor that produces a net total system horsepower of 354. Both of these cars have a 10-speed automatic transmission. Now, if that sounds like a mountain bike to you, you're not too far off. The V8 version has a straight-up 10-speed automatic transmissions. That's actually a 7-speed transmission with 3 overdrive gears. The hybrid version, on the other hand, is a little different. It's actually a CVT with a 4-speed automatic transmission. Now, this isn't the CVT that you normally think of, like the ones found in Subarus or Nissans, where there's basically a set of pulleys and a drive belt. This is the eCVT. So architecturally, it's the same ones found in the Toyota Prius. Essentially, it consists of 2 motor generators that can decide whether to run solely off of battery or both the battery and the internal combustion engine. But the reason why they call this the multi-stage hybrid is because of the 4-speed automatic transmission that's attached to the end of that eCVT. So the way it works is this. The eCVT can actually simulate 3 gear ratios. So for the first 3 mechanical gears, that goes through 3 of the eCVT gears. So 3 times 3, that's how you get the 9 speeds. So where's the 10th gear? That's the last mechanical gear in the 4-speed automatic transmission. That's the overdrive gear. If none of that makes any sense to you, just know this. The 10-speed automatic transmission in the multi-stage hybrid is super smooth. There's absolutely no shift shock. It's really smart that it knows when to shift, and it shifts really, really quick, about 100 milliseconds. That's like faster than some dual clutch transmissions. 100 milliseconds. Who needs dual clutch transmissions when you got a really fast shifting automatic? The other key takeaway is this. Unlike other CVTs, this one feels like a more traditional modern day automatic where there is no rubber band feel. That's the major downside of CVTs, is just that sometimes it makes a lot of noise and it doesn't feel like you're making a ton of power. So the bottom line is this. Both of these cars are great grand tourers. The LC500H is fast. The LC500, a bit faster, and sounds way better. But still, this hybrid, 0 to 60 in 4.7 seconds, that is really, really serious. And this actually, I believe, is the first production hybrid that's not a hybrid supercar that can actually break traction in the rear. But still, if you're the type of person that likes to take advantage of every waking minute driving the snot out of a car, then the LC500 V8 version is the one for you. Now, I've taken that car around the track in Monticello Motor Club, and that thing was a beast. You know, the 471 horsepower coming out of the 5-liter V8, that is a lot of power, a lot of potential, and could totally make up for the tiny mistakes that you make around the track. The LC500H is a more grown-up car. You know, it's a lot more technical. There's a lot more technological whiz-bangery that goes on in the engine bay and also all over the car. Sometimes you might even think that the car's possessed. You know, sometimes I would drive around, you know, cruising speed, and I would watch the tachometer jump between 2500 to 0 or 0 to 1500 and back to 0. I know that's basically the hybrid engine working its magic, you know, turning on the battery or running solely off of the battery and then turning on the engine to recharge the battery, so on and so forth. But the thought of driving a sports car where the engine speed doesn't really matter, it's a bit unnerving. Then there's a 10-speed automatic transmission. It's awesome. It is sweet. It shifts fast, but it's too good to the point where you don't even have to shift anymore. You know, 10 speeds is too many speeds. It's like a mountain bike, except in a mountain bike, you could actually use all those 10 speeds. And here, it's basically 5 or 6 usable gears with a bunch of overdrive gears. So when you're driving on the highway at highway speeds and you want to just all of a sudden take over someone, if you rely on these paddles, you're going to find that you're going to have to downshift about 5 or 6 times to the point where you can get really decent engine speed that you can overtake someone. The automatic transmission is just too good. Just let the car do the magic shifting for you so that you could focus on turning this wheel back and forth. As far as mileage goes, if you even care about mileage since you just bought a $100,000 car, I've been struggling to get over 20 miles per gallon. Now, I've been driving in Sport S Plus mode most of the time, which probably means that I'm not relying solely on battery power. I'm always using the 3.5-liter V6 engine at all times. And at the same time, I haven't been driving a lot of highway miles solely, so I've been getting about 19 point something miles per gallon. Now, if I drove a lot more conservatively using the eco mode or normal mode, and at the same time driving a lot more highway miles, I 100% believe that this thing is going to hit the 35 mile per gallon highway rating. So to summarize, this car is truly fantastic. You know, to get cars that look this good, you'd have to spend at least twice the money. There's nothing out there like it. And according to our official motorsports enthusiast and cranky old guy, Chad Kennedy, he mentions that this car looks like a Japanese Aston Martin and that driving it makes him feel like James Bond. And you know what? To his point, based off of the countless of smartphones that gets pulled out every time I pass by, all the thumbs ups and all the gawking, the stares and grins, I'm inclined to think that I have to wear a tuxedo every time I drive this car. At this point of the review, you're probably asking yourself, should I buy this car? Again, at this price point, you're being compared to the Jaguar F-Type R, the Lotus Evora 400, of course, Porsche 911. Those cars have way more horsepower and weigh a lot less than this car. This one is about 4,400 pounds. It's a bit of a pig. So if you're looking at it from a pure performance perspective, then no, this car does not make sense. At this price point anyway, it totally doesn't make any sense. There's faster, more agile cars out there. Is there a better looking one? I don't think so. So that's where the LC500 and the LC500H makes a stronger case, because there's nothing else like it out there. You know, that's something that you can't really put a dollar figure to, is the emotion that you get while driving this car. The fact that this thing is such a rarity, and if you do buy one, do not, and I mean do not put this in a garage. The look and the beauty of this car needs to be enjoyed by everyone out there on the roads. You know, they haven't seen anything like this, so you owe it to them to actually just drive this car and be seen. I forgot to mention that the rear lights of the LC500 is also groundbreaking. There's an infinity mirror effect going on in here, where there's a one-way mirror in the front and a mirror in the back. So a single LED looks like there's an infinite amount. So is the looks, the performance that you get, worth $100,000? That really depends on you. You know, to this day, I still have not seen this car on the road. It is so friggin' rare. The ability to stand out amongst the crowd, does that matter to you? If it does, then maybe this is the car for you. While everyone else is buying Porsches and Jaguars, why not go against the grain and buy something Japanese? Anyway, I think I've talked on long enough. I'm just gonna let the car do the talking for itself. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Do you like the LC500 or the LC500H? Let us know. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate you watching, especially till the end. And if you haven't followed us on all the other social media stuff, please do so. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere else. So just give us a like, follow, subscribe, whatever. We love having you here. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Hanson. See you next time.